This is Telltale Books, and this one is going to be premiering on YouTube on the anniversary of the birth of Fredric Brown. He was born on October 29th in 1906, and he died on March 11th in 1972. And if you're not familiar with Fredric Brown, he was one of the major science fiction authors of the 1940s and 1950s, having published a lot in Astounding and having published some of the greatest science fiction stories of the Golden Age and of the period after the Golden Age. And definitely bad that we lost him in 1972. He was still writing, and he was a great writer. And well, he was noted for a lot more than just science fiction. He wrote a lot of mystery novels and stories, and my bibliography is not even complete with that. I don't know all of his non-science fictional work. I've got some of it entered in, but I don't think I have it all. And The Fabulous Clip Joint is probably the most famous, maybe. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's his most famous mystery title. And among all the great science fiction stories that he wrote during his lifetime, arguably his most famous is the one I want to talk about in this video, and that is Arena. And of course I'm picking that one because it is his top story among all the really great science fiction stories he wrote. This is the one that he's best known for. The reason he's best known for it, aside from having been published in the June 1944 issue of Astounding Stories, so it was definitely a Campbell Golden Age story being published in the premier science fiction magazine of the day. But it also has been televised more than once. There was a Twilight Zone episode that was loosely based on it and had a completely different title, but there's a famous episode of Star Trek that is titled Arena and was definitely taking Fredric Brown's story and setting it in the Star Trek universe and pitting James T. Kirk against the alien. It really good episode, but, and I understand it was TV, it was 1960s, the lizard alien was so obviously a guy in a rubber suit. It just looks so bad. It was not at all convincing in that episode. But if you suspend that part, you suspend your disbelief on that and ignore the bad costume work, it was really a very good episode. But it did depart from the original story, of course, because it has to be Star Trek. And the original story was not Star Trek. Star Trek was a long way from existing when this story was published in 1944. So the basic story, many of you may already know, especially if you're Star Trek fans. Basic story is you have a guy named Carson. He's in a scout ship sent out from the Earth Armada. The Earth Armada is going out to the edge of the solar system to engage an alien fleet that is coming into the solar system for the purpose of conquering Earth and killing all the humans. And so Carson is in a scout ship. He's going out to see just where the aliens are and, try and get some intel about them and report back. And while he's out there, he sees an alien scout ship. And so the two of them are going straight at one another. But all of a sudden, the alien ship violently veers off. And then Carson tries to pursue, but he finds himself where he's not really in control, and he makes a sharp turn. They're heading for what looks like a planet. And mind you, they're out past Pluto. There's no planet. But they see a planet and they head toward a planet. And they're diving towards the surface of this planet. He blacks out. Next thing he knows, he wakes up and he's underneath this dome. And the dome is emitting a bluish light. And he's on a sandy land underneath the dome, and the sand is blue sand. And there are bushes growing, plant life, different types. And when he regains consciousness, when he gets hold of himself and can sit up, he notices there's this globular thing rolling across the sand toward him. And it rolls just so far, and then it comes into contact with something that can't be seen. There's an invisible barrier between him and the alien. And the alien puts out a couple of tentacles that have like claws on the end. That's its arms and hands, basically. And the alien is red. So this is the setting you've got. A voice suddenly appears in Carson's head telling him that the voice is coming from a member of a very old alien race that tells Carson that if they didn't intervene, that Earth and the aliens would have a ruinous battle. One would come out the victor, and the other one would be completely destroyed, but the victor would be so severely hurt by the war, by the battle, that they would never recover, and ultimately they too would die. So both races would basically be lost if this battle actually goes on. So what the aliens want to do is what the aliens decide to do is to intervene and take one individual of each of the two races and put them inside this dome, put them inside this arena. And they have no clothes, no weapons, no technology. Just they have to use their intelligence and their courage for one of them to come out the winner. The one that wins will be spared. The one that loses, their entire race will be wiped out by these aliens. Won't be around anymore. So the alien starts trying to find ways to fight. Mind you, they're divided by this barrier. Neither one of them can actually get at one another. They have to figure out how to kill the other one without being able to run through this barrier and grab the other person and throttle them. That's the setup. I won't spoil it from there in case you're one of the few people who have never read it. This is an absolutely incredible story. This is as good as Golden Age science fiction gets. You don't have a lot of background into Carson's character, but he does feel like a human being. You do get a strong sense of this alien, and the alien comes across as really different. Brown did a good job at imagining this alien. And the situation, the problem that needs to be solved here is very well handled. Really good suspense. The story moves along really well, has a very satisfying ending. It's an excellent story. This is as good as Golden Age science fiction gets. One of the greatest. So of course this is a top tale, and of course this is recommended. Now, it's in a lot of different places. I do have it in Volume 6 of the Great Science Fiction Stories by Isaac Asimov and Martin H. Greenberg in paperback. I also have the hardcover science fiction book club edition of The Best of Fredric Brown, which is an excellent book. It's available in a number of ebooks and other anthologies and books down through the years. So it should be fairly easy to find it and read it. Like I say, especially ebooks online. Look for the Science Fiction Mega Packs by Wildside Press. They got a couple of them of just Fredric Brown, and the first of the Fredric Brown Mega Packs has Arena in it. I've got that. Those are very good. They're ebooks, but you have access to a lot of stories that you might not be able to find. And of course, the original June 1944 Astounding issue is available for free as a PDF on the internet. The physical magazine is kind of expensive, as you can guess, since this is such a famous story, but that's out there too. So I hope you like that. It's like I say, the story, it's a novel at length. So yeah, you could expand this with a lot more detail, but you don't need to. It is everything it needs to be. And it is a long enough novelette that you do get a lot out of it. And the situation is very engaging. And brings up a lot of questions about war. It brings up a lot of questions about existence and who deserves to exist. I mean, is it really a good thing for these aliens to just totally wipe out the other race? They're so technologically advanced, they can transport these two scout ships a long way onto this totally made up planet. Would it not be possible for these aliens to just do something that'll keep the two societies separate? There may be other peaceful solutions that the aliens could have arrived at, but they didn't go that route. They went this route. And of course, it is a much more dramatic thing than finding a peaceful solution. And it also, posing that problem, you do go through step by step as the human discovers what's going on, discovers what his limitations are, discovers what he has access to under this dome to use for weapons, and discovers more about the physical realities of his situation, and ultimately arrives at a solution. It's a problem-solving story, which is really, really, really good. Kind of an intellectual story that way. How do you think your way out of this? Almost like The Most Dangerous Game, which is another excellent story and excellent movie. So that's Arena. I encourage you to check it out. It is a top tale. This is one of those that in our mind is essential reading and essential to our library. And so, like this video, subscribe to our channel, come on back for more, leave comments. For those of you who have read Arena, what do you think about it? Do you have any kind of insights that I may not have talked about in this video? I'd like to hear them. I think that would be awesome. And come on back for more. I'm probably, at least at this time, I do not plan on going through Fredric Brown from start to finish, everything I can get my hands on. In part because he wrote so much, and in part because I'm already doing so many other series like this. I'm just going to touch on Fredric Brown on my favorite stories from time to time. So there will be more Fredric Brown coming. But I don't think I'm going to go through absolutely everything. I think that's just biting off more than I can chew with all the others I'm working on already. Which I think you should. This story doesn't have much humor to it. It's a more serious story, but Fredric Brown is famous for his humorous stories. really, really funny stuff like Mickey Mouse. I mean, that's a great story. Pie in the Sky. He was a great humorist. He was great at the short, or what we call today flash fiction. And one of these days I gotta pick up one of his mysteries and read one of his mysteries too, because I bet those are really good also. So I will see you again.